Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Well, I've done a Kyogo, and my shoulder is playing up, and hence the reason I was no live last night. Apologies for that. And a lot happened in 24 hours at Celtic, isn't it? There's never a dull moment, especially this season, when you think that everything's kind of quieting down and everything looks to be, the sea seems to be calming in front of our eyes when it comes to everything Celtic, and harmony is within the stadium. The Green Brigade are back in. The board are going about to beg for your money, and Willie Hockey steps out of the shadows around about two or three months now, isn't it? Since he first announced, was it not back in February, was it 2 months, 3 months? I don't know. Willie Hockey has stepped out of the shadows and went on to his owned radio station. He owns, I believe, or he definitely owns the building. He went on to Go Radio, and he announced the following. Let me just make sure that I've got the volumes up for this one, because I want everyone to hear this one, because it is an unbelievable bit of news that he broke on Go Radio last night.
In the last few weeks, you're a former Celtic director. Do you regret getting involved? Was there any need now that the Green Brigade's back?
Well, I think I'm delighted that the Green Brigade's back. When we said when we were on the show the last time about harmony. So we've been working behind the scenes to put things together for what we're going to launch, and we're ready to launch it now. I'll tell you a wee bit more about it tonight, but the thing will go live on the 17th of April when people can apply. But I can exclusively announced tonight that Paul McStay will be the Celtic legend who will be the ambassador and fronting up, the season ticket alliance. So hopefully when people see what it's all about, and then they'll get the opportunity. I think I said when I was on here that I believe that, to set up an alliance where we can create a conduit for a two-way communication with the club is something that we need at the moment. I know other people are trying to do that, and good on them for that. But I think that that this will probably be something that will appeal to most of the season ticket holders.
And to be
right, that first of all, for the younger members of the audience, because there will be a lot of Celtic younger fans who really have no idea who Paul McStay is. And if you're a Celtic da, as I'm at that age now, where the Celtic das will know that Paul McStay was an absolute legend. Paul McStay was nicknamed the Maestro. He played his entire career at Celtic. A lot of us talk about James Forrest being a one-club man. Callum McGregor, he went out on loan though. We talk about players like that, living legends. Paul McStay he'd done it before yous were even born, boys. He made 677 appearances for Celtic, scoring 72 goals from midfield. He was the Celtic captain. He was the Scotland captain during his career. He debuted for Celtic on January the 23rd, 1982, with a 4-0 win against Queen of the South. He won 2 league titles only at his time at the club. It was quite a bit of a barren years, to be honest, as Celtic fans will remember. But he was there in 1988, which was even more important for Celtic fans. He represented Scotland 76 times. He featured in the 1986 and 1990 World Cups. He also was SPFA and SFWA Footballer of the Year, nicknamed the Maestro. He was a legend. He captained Celtic to the centenary in 1988. He's often been said that he's one of the best midfielders that Celtic have ever had in the modern era. After retiring in 1997, he started up a football development business and disappeared to Australia. And he's never really been heard of since. He has been back at Celtic, and he's produced the trophy on trophy days. Celtic have managed to talk him back to come into Glasgow for that. But the fact that he is fronting up the Celtic Fans Alliance is a massive. Forget about your John Hartsons. Forget about your Chris Suttons, who a lot of us thought it may be going to be. Forget about your Neil Lennons. This guy's way above them. Way above them. And the fact that Willie Hockey's managed to convince Paul McStay to come back to Celtic, to fight for the fans, is massive. Now, I know that this might split the fan base. Will it split the fan base? Tell me in the comment section. But the fact that Willie Hockey is he is setting this up in 7 days' time, it goes live. And we'll listen to a little bit more of what is said, because there's no use me talking about it when we can listen to the man himself.
Claire, you said you're not having a financial involvement. You're putting a lot of money up, but you're not going to have any financial sway or control.
When this thing is set up, I'm hoping never to be on here ever talking about it again. We're going to get, from everyone who joins, we're going to pick 5 trustees. One of those trustees will be the chair, and the spokesperson for the club. Paul will remain the spokesperson until that person's in place. And as I said the last time, for every 10,000 season ticket holders that join, then I will donate £2 million to the trust, which I will not control. And hopefully that everyone within the trust then who doesn't have shares will be able to, wallow in the fact now that they're part of something that does have a say. And the whole idea of setting this up is trying to create something where we can have a pathway to, getting a channel with the club that's a two-way channel, and we can get our voice as an alliance to get our voice heard, but in a way that most people accept that this is how we do it.
How many season ticket holders?
54,000.
Wow. So that could cost you
10 million.
Upwards of 10 million.
Yes.
And what they're going to get from that, I guess, is it to pull them together? Because for the Green Brigade, there's a few hundred in the Green Brigade, and they've got a loud voice.
Yep.
I got the sense that you were saying, look, let's get every Celtic supporter who pays their money for a season ticket will share in having a voice together. And
that includes the Green Brigade. Everybody that's a season ticket holder can join. And hopefully, as I say, that we will be able to get a channel with the club. Want to work with the club, but we also want to make our grievances and things that we're not happy about, ideas to make things better, protect the legacy of the club, and hopefully help the board, whoever the board is to to form the club in a way that the fans would be happy with.
You had a meeting with many of the fans. How did that go?
Yeah, fine. The people that I've spoken to have been asking me, people in the street, people in airports, shouting to me, when's it being launched? So tonight, obviously you can see there'll be more about it, and then in the 17th of April it'll be open for people to apply.
What are the aims then? I think we can see now to maintain and uplift the club's legacy, to uphold it.
Yes, yeah, that's it. And that's number one. And number two is obviously the 54,000 fans between them collectively should have a few shares themselves. And hopefully we'll attract some of the other people who have got, I've got 350,000 shares myself, so I'll put them in. We don't want any money off of people, we don't want any shares off of people, but when it comes to it, we want the combined force of the people who join, hopefully, will give us enough shares that the board will take notice.
Wow, you've got to say, fair play to him. A couple of comments has come in. Why would this split the fans apart from the usual moany cants on social media? It's all about opinions, and a lot of people have an opinion that he's not the man for the club, even though he was in and around there when Fergus came to the club. Only one McStay, the best midfielder that ever wore a Celtic strip, complete legend, says Scott. It's mental, because one of my memories of I've said it on the channel before, one of my memories of Paul McStay is when I was at Celtic Park with my dad to meet up with Roy Aitken when we were going out for lunch, and we ended up going out for lunch with Roy Aitken. Murdo McLeod paid for dinner that day, and I'm still due on one. I've told him that many times on Facebook. And Paki Bonner was there also, and Davy Provan, strangely enough. But and Tommy Burns walked in, and it was in Ian Skelly's garage, because that's where the Celtic players back in those days in the early 80s used to go for their lunch after training. And Ian Skelly's garage had a cafeteria in it. It was just up behind Celtic Park, those who remember back in those days. Paul McStay was on the pitch after training doing sprints up and down the side of the pitch. I'm standing in the centre circle with my dad and Roy Aitken, and you were allowed on the grass in those days, and we're getting my picture taken with with Roy and that, and I couldn't take my eyes off. Training was done and dusted, but there's Paul McStay doing extra sprints up and down the touchline himself, and you're thinking, what a bloody, what a player. And this must have been around about 1985, 86-ish. Unbelievable player. But it makes you think about, there is obviously the Celtic Fans Collective. Now, the Celtic Fans Collective have brought over 420 signatories together, but how many of those signatories are still involved and still devoted to the Celtic Fans Collective? During the season, we have had the Celtic Fans Association, which is the bigger organisation. Is everyone that goes to games and goes to away games will know that the Celtic Association is where you get your away tickets from. They deal with the club, and they withdrew their support for the Celtic Fans Collective. I wonder if they'll get behind this Willie Hockey one, because they are a big organisation in Scotland. They are the umbrella, if you like, of all supporters clubs. Rather than the collective, and it just makes you think, well, with all these opposing forces, can they unite under this one banner, if you like? Because there is the whole thing in Scotland where you have to all be under the one roof. It'll be interesting to see if they'll all back this and back it publicly, or will they see that they're important part in the structure of Celtic could be diminished by it. There's a lot of political minded people within the Celtic Fans Collective hierarchy that still are politically motivated to get change at Celtic. Will they come under this one with Willie Hockey? The fact that he's prepared to put in his, 350,000 shares he said that he had, and he's not asking for any money from the Celtic fans. And that's an important part, I think, because a lot of people are thinking, how will he monetize this? He's a businessman, he's a Celtic fan. It's going to be interesting to watch this as it develops over the next 7 days. What would Paul McStay's value be in today's market? Oh, that's a question and a half. He's up there with the best in Europe, isn't he? From his time at Celtic. I mean, John Collins pissed off Celtic at the time and went away to Monaco. Monaco were flying high in Europe at that time. He went away to Monaco to earn his money. Paul McStay was way better than John Collins. So, to put that into perspective, John Collins left Celtic on a freedom of contract. He was one of the first players to leave Celtic under the Bosman rule at the time. And Celtic never got a penny for John Collins. And I don't think that Celtic really got over that one for a good while. Paul McStay was way better than John Collins. So if John Collins was worth X amount of millions, Paul McStay was worth way more. And the fact that he never left Celtic, his whole family were Celtic. Paul McStay, Willie McStay, young Raymond McStay that never made it at Celtic. I remember that day that in particular I'm talking about, young Raymond McStay had a big stookie on his leg. He had a broken leg, and my dad sitting talking to him, and I'm just like, the family connection was just unbelievable. But yeah, Paul McStay's family were Celtic through and through, and it seems to be that Willie Hockey's trying to bring back that connection. So, football was a different thing back then. Yeah, it was that. But Paul, nothing less than 75 to 80 million in today's money. This is true. They gave us James McGrory and Paul McStay. They did that. So, what a morning. It'll be interesting to see how this all goes about, and obviously this was live last night when Willie Hockey was speaking about it, when he announced it. It looks like the web page is live also.
Will be exactly as how we see it. It won't be tainted.
How did you feel when you had the Green Brigade back in from this weekend?
Delighted. Yeah, bringing Harmony in, we need all the help we can over the next 6 games. So hopefully at the end of the day, Well, the good thing is now it won't be an excuse if we don't get there, right? So I've got no doubt that the team will be lifted by that at the weekend.
I saw Chris Sutton saying, I've never seen a fan score a goal, but everyone in the game says that the fans can be a 12th man. Jamie, you found that in your career?
Yeah, it makes such a difference when you know the crowd are behind.
And for the game with St Mirren.
I've got a wee bit of brilliant news. I mean, what better guy could you have to lead it?
Time between 5 and 7.
This is Charlie Mulgrew. Actually, it's interesting because Charlie Mulgrew came up on my Facebook yesterday. I've got a picture of me and Charlie. Charlie standing with a Green Brigade scarf and holding 4 Green Brigade section tickets.
And a Thursday. Charlie, you've heard the news. You knew a few weeks ago when Willie mentioned this is going to happen. It's going to be launched a week tomorrow, the 17th of April, the Celtic Season Ticket Alliance, and it's going to be led by Paul McStay.
Brilliant news. I mean, what better guy could you have to lead it? We spoke about it a few weeks ago. Obviously, legend of the game. We spoke about him last week on the show. So, an amazing guy that has got the respect of everybody at Celtic, involved in Celtic. It's an amazing campaign. We spoke about it before. And listen, it's the best way in which I can see the fans, the board, and everybody coming together. And if we can make it happen, thanks to Willie, with the generosity, the money going in, and the fans believe and get behind it and understand it's nothing to do with the board. It's arm's length, as Willie said. But it's bringing everybody together, then I can only see positives.
It's interesting because I think for many people, especially the Celtic dads, the Celtic dads as they're called, Paul McStay would be up there. You know, everybody thinks about Tommy Burns, and you know Tommy Burns stayed at Celtic, and he was manager of Celtic. He was assistant to Gordon Strachan. Gordon Strachan's publicly said that for him personally, he would never have been the success that he was at Celtic if it wasn't for Tommy Burns. I think that Paul McStay is up there in the living legendary status, you know, and to have him come back to front this campaign, the one alliance, the one voice, is the slogan for the Celtic Fans Alliance. It will be interesting to hear what he has to say. It will be interesting to see. But anyway, McCann took it to court as well. Yes, McCann did take it to court with the whole John Collins thing. All behind Willie Hockey now will make much more impact than the collective, says Scott. And it even makes me want to renew my season tickets. And Scott sits in the posh seats. So he's paying $2,500 a season ticket. For him to say that, it's quite a big thing because he was earlier on, a couple of weeks ago, he was like, there's no chance of Celtic getting over $2,000 a ticket from me. Bugger that. Let's hope it's 8's game for us. Yes, Paul McStay is worth the admission money alone in a period where we struggled in bad times. A true legend. Bobby Murdoch was much better. Even Bobby Murdoch was years before, though. McStay was a class act, very quiet man, surprised he's fronting anything. I'm really surprised as well when I switched the computer on this morning and it flashed up with the Go Radio had put this out last night. And it's not Paul McStay that we thought was going. Nobody thought that Paul McStay would be fronting it. Everybody was kind of going down the road is he going to, when he said a Celtic legend, is he going to go down the road of Chris Sutton type, John Hartson? But Willie Hockey's old school Celtic, so it's probably only right that he went for Paul McStay. I don't know, it's interesting. McStay was the class act, very quiet man. Yes, he was that. I love the maestro. He was a living legend. He still is a living legend. He's not dead yet. Thank goodness.
I think it's interesting about talking about Paul. The McStay family have been involved in the club and a major part of the club in over 100 years.
Yep.
So apart from Paul's contribution, which was immense, I think you go way back to Jimmy and Willie, you know, so all of that. So yeah, absolutely delighted. I spoke to him yesterday. I'm not happy about what's going to cost me to fly him for Australia every 3 months for meetings, but no, I'm thrilled that he's accepted the offer to be the ambassador for the club in the start.
And he was always so modest, wasn't he? Paul McStay was one of the best ever Celtic players. He's in the Celtic all-time 11. We all remember that night, Willie. You'll never forget it. Wee Jimmy was the favourite Celtic player. Billy McNeil, the best ever captain.
Yeah.
And Paul was in that 11. You think of all the players, all those years, and he played at a time when there was underinvestment in the team.
Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing more of them, because you talk about Celtic fans, and my family, I mean, speak about him fondly. My favourite ever player, and how good he was. You only see clips of him. Obviously, there wasn't as much footage as there is now of players, but I'd love to have seen more of him, because obviously one of Celtic greats.
Yeah. I won't mention him, but one of Celtic's all-time legends as well said to me last week when we were talking about Paul, when I told him that Paul was going to front it, he said, Paul McStay is the unluckiest footballer that ever lived. If Paul McStay would have been starting his career with Celtic when it was finishing, but no doubt he'd have been the greatest Celtic player ever.
Yeah,
because Paul was in that time when Rangers were obviously spending loads of money, Celtic had no money. But if Paul wouldn't have got the injury at the end and he could have played into the 2000s, it'd have been what a record they'd have.
He would have been unique as well, because when I see clips of him, I see him dribbling from midfield with the ball. You don't see a lot of midfielders dribbling with the ball now, so it'd have been interesting to see him in today's game.
I would say to anybody, any of the younger fans, I'm talking about MD under 35, if you'd not seen any of the clips on YouTube about Paul McStay, I'm ashamed to say that I was there and watched all, and I never realised until I seen that how good he was.
Aye.
And you saw nearly every game.
Well, you see him as this, skillful midfield player.
Yeah.
The tackle against Rangers in the halfway line when he gets up and goes and scores. I mean, he was unbelievable in every aspect of being a midfielder. A modern midfielder today, he'd probably be about 150 million.
And for Scotland as well.
Yeah, and for Scotland.
Some special
Great,
goals,
goal.
remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Willie Hockey has said that Paul McStay in today's market would be around about 150 million. And when you think about it, he's probably right, because he was one of the most respected midfielders in Europe at the time.
Ross is on. I think he's on the line. A Celtic fan. Hi, Ross.
Hi guys, how are you? Very good.
Good. We're really well. Thank
Ross.
you. Ross,
Good.
what you think? You've heard the news there from Willie Hockey. What do you think? I think you've got a question for him.
I was going to say, well, you used the word there, harmony, regarding obviously the Green Brigade and stuff, and I'm exactly like you, Willie. I'm delighted that they're back in for the remaining fixtures of the season, but my only concern is, Willie, you're saying there also about the Celtic fans want harmony with the board, and for me, it's simple. The Celtic fans want communication. That's all we're asking for. We're paying the money for season tickets, and all we're asking is for the board to be transparent with us and tell us what's going on. But it seems to be this divide that the board don't want to speak to the fans, they don't want to tell us anything, and that's where the problems are coming from. So for me, I think the remaining fixtures, the Celtic fans need to come in, the Green Brigade especially, and just back the team. The stuff about the board we can part for now until the summer. But I think right now we've got the incentive that the last game of the season's at home to Hearts, and what a way it would be to have that game at Celtic Park, get into it with a title fight against Hearts. I think it would be tremendous, and that's the incentive I think right now for Celtic, is to go and win these next remaining games and make it 5 in a row.
Yep. I think you must have misheard me. I didn't ask for harmony with the board. I was looking for harmony in the stadium, right, that lifted the team. But I agree with you, let's park it at the moment. It's important, but I'm not doing this so that people can stop having a voice. I'm doing it for the opposite of that.
You went out and they didn't know about it, did they?
Yeah, no, not at all. I'd let them know that I'm going to do this, but what I would say is that let's maybe get our point across, but maybe have a chance to do it privately, right? Than what we're getting at the moment. But if we've got harmony in the stadium, well, you can see that the Green Brigade were allowed back in, but they're still making their point today, and I'm not saying they're wrong to do that. So I'm saying that hopefully that what we're trying to create here will give us the platform where people do listen.
Wow. Willie Hockey, he has said, well, you heard it there, he's not coming in to let the boards off the hook. He's not coming in to quieten the fans down and to please the board. He wants the fans to have a voice, but he wants it done in private. So the whole Celtic Fans Collective has been very publicly demanding that they want rid of board members. The Green Brigade and the whole Not Another Penny campaign have publicly been expressing their wishes for people to be removed from position within Celtic Football Club, Willie Hockey wants to do it the right way, the businessman way, and and do the discussions behind closed doors, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I think that it's given that alone, that statement alone should be enough to get everyone backing it. Gel 1708 says, here's a question for Baz, mate. Who was the most successful player ever to play with Celtic? One who's done best in their career overall in world football. That has to go to Henrik Larsson, surely. Paul Lambert won the Champions League before he came to Celtic. Henrik Larsson went on to play for Manchester United under Fergie. At that time, I mean, Fergie was pretty much running the English league. It should have been called the Alex Ferguson League at the time. And he also played for Barcelona. When he walked into the dressing room in Manchester, everyone got up and applauded him as he walked into the dressing room. When he was at Barcelona, he won the Champions League, and he was a fantastic player. So maybe people will think it's someone else, but for me, a player that's went on to achieve most in world football, Henrik Larsson's got to be right up there. I mean, if Henrik Larsson was worth 15 million at the time at Celtic, I mean, could you imagine Paul McStay and Henrik Larsson in the same team? Jesus, Henrik Larsson would have scored way more goals. Because if you think that Paul Lambert was good, I mean, Paul Lambert was up there in modern times as a fantastic midfielder. He was better. I think he was better than Neil Lennon. A lot of people say that Lennon had the grit. Paul McStay had a bit of finesse and a bit of class about him. You know, Neil Lennon was probably the modern day Peter Grant, to say the least. And older fans will be able to see the comparison with Peter Grant and Neil Lennon. But Paul McStay, I think if he managed to stay, because they were talking about on the Go Radio show that obviously with Paul's injury that ended his career early, if he had managed to stay another couple of seasons and been in that team with Henrik Larsson and Simon Donnelly and Tom Boyd and everybody that was in the team at the time, and Jackie McNamara. Jackie McNamara's made a massive name for himself off the back of his career at Celtic. He's not only a football agent, but he's involved in Celtic boozers and he does a lot of the circuit, if you like. So it just goes to show you, Paul McStay, he was probably the unluckiest, most loved Celtic player. If he just managed another couple of years, he could not only have won the double, but he could have been the same captain. Because it wouldn't have been Tom Boyd that had been captain, it would have still been Paul McStay. It would have been the same captain that had stopped the 10 in a row, and Paul McStay would have loved that more than anything. So that's your big news this morning. We'd love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Yeah, it would be brilliant. The collective is no longer the way forward, says Scott. I've been backing them since day one. This is the only professional way to make change at our beloved Celtic. Talking about the most successful player, Robert goes Larsson, hand down. Larsson or Virgil? I mean, Virgil just went to Liverpool. I know that he won the Champions League with Liverpool, but Henrik went to Barcelona and Manchester United. So I would say I would go with Henrik Larsson all day long. Lambert was 100 times better than Lennon, and I liked Lenny. Yeah, a lot of us did like Lenny, but Paul Lambert won the Champions League, and you've got to remember, talking about fantastic midfield players, when Paul Lambert decided to leave Germany, the fans were devastated. They put up banners and everything, hoping that he wouldn't go, but his wife was pure wanting to come home. Lennon won trophies and titles. Peter Grant didn't. Peter Grant played in the same team with Paul McStay. That's horses for courses, as they say. Peter Grant did win titles, but not as many as Neil Lennon, obviously. Last one was a sub, mainly after leaving even the Champions League final. Virgil was at the centre of all Liverpool achieved since leaving us. So there's the great debate that you can all have this afternoon. Peter Grant won 2 titles and a few cups. He did that. I think he won was Grant not here in 86 and 88. Peter also played for Celtic and won nothing in 6 seasons. We don't need to know him. He stopped Joe Miller jumping the Rangers end. So did Paul McStay and John Connors. Yes, they did that. Anyway, that is the big news this morning. The Celtic Ticket Alliance will be launched in 7 days' time, the 17th of April. Willie Hockey has announced that the legend that is, the living legend that is Mr. Paul McStay. And I say Mr. because what an absolute gent he was. Anyway, on that note, poof, what an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.